Alrighty, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the podcast live. Not sure what's happening with my camera with the lighting there, but welcome everybody. Welcome, Kevin. Kevin, what's happening, man?
Again, as we were talking before we hopped on stage, it's a sunny day in Seattle. On those days, on a Friday, especially, happy Friday, everybody. Can't complain. Everything's good. Got the kids to school. Kevin's just here to play, and we got these amazing fellas with us. What's going on with you? How's it going, Adam?
We're doing good. It's Friday. It's a beautiful day here in the New York City area. My kids made sure that the pool was heated. Some suburban ship. We got a little Frozen action on the cameras. But let's not mess around. Let's bring in our guests here. Let's bring them in. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. We got 2 Chris's and a Bruce from the Letterhead crew. Good morning, gentlemen. Good afternoon. Good evening. What's happening?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday
indeed.
Here. We're also trying out a new feature on StreamYard today, which I did not know about, but guests could actually sign in and then they could restream to their platform. So if you're joining us on Bruce, Chris, or Chris's streams, Kevin, we're going to mess around with this too because it's a feature we could remember talking about it last week with Bryson. Like how do we get it? Now we can get it. Now we have a game changer in the house here. But without further ado, quick introductions. Let's start with Mr. Chris Sopher. Please kindly introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about Letterhead.
Hey, yeah, I'm Chris. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO of Letterhead, and we make software that helps different kinds of companies build their own media brands. So we have software that helps with newsletters, monetization, all kinds of other parts of that. But really, we're in the business of helping different kinds of companies master the work of like being a publisher, creating content, and building community around what they do.
Cool, good stuff, Bruce. I mean, I know you, man. We go way back, but tell the folks out there tuning in a little bit more about yourself.
Hey, y'all. My name is Bruce Pinchbeck. I like to say I'm a creative explorer. I blend art, entrepreneurship, and technology to create projects that inspire and get people creating things in surprising ways. And right now, I'm heading up a project with Chris and another co-founder, Rebecca, called Letterhead, and I'm the head of marketing over there.
Cool, good stuff, Mr. Chris Adamo, no stranger to the podcast and the Immutable Mindset. That's our Web3 podcast, captained by my man Kevin over there. Chris, tell us who you are and what you do best.
Good morning. Good morning. Well, I'm happy to be. I've been in business with Chris and Bruce for like 7 years now. So we've been building companies for a long time. Then in Miami, building the startup scene up, building the media scene up, and now we're on to the AI. So it's been a fun time for us. Love this music.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to the podcast live on this Friday. And we're going to get things going here, and we're going to talk about a hot topic, which is AI, ChatGPT. But like, who out of the three of you is really the expert here to talk shop? Who wants to break this down here?
This is like the Spider-Man.
It's a pointy thing. And here's how about this? Let's take 2 different approaches to it. Explain it like you're explaining it to my mom, your dad, maybe someone older generation who really doesn't know what it is. And then let's flip it the other way and talk about it to savvy marketers and content creators. So maybe Chris Sopher takes the explaining it to my mom, and then maybe we'll toss it to Bruce for the more technical side. I felt that worked. That works.
That's great.
Yep.
Christopher, explain ChatGPT to my mom and why she needs to know about it, or why does she not need to know how the sausage is made?
This is great, actually. I think this is a good test, right? Because this is one of those technologies. It's like your mom has now heard of it at like a speed that you wouldn't have expected, right? So it's totally got this element to it. Look, so ChatGPT is a large language model, which just means that it's a system that reads a whole lot of content, takes in a whole bunch of different information, and then can tell you stuff out the other end of it way faster than any human being could ever do. That's how I would say it.
Now, here's my question. People are taking the output as gospel. They're taking it as truth. There was a recent thing. Some attorney was trying a case, and he used ChatGPT to pull past cases to cite. And then in discovery, the other side, the opposition side, was like, they looked it up and like, this is fucking bullshit. This is all completely wrong. And the guy was a total jerk, and the case got thrown out. I don't know if you guys heard about this. So the output is only as good as the input. How is it different than a traditional Google search? Like, where are they pulling the information from? Where's the machine?
Kind of relate it. to, you're asking about the marketers and stuff like that too. And I think it relates to this is, again, it's the large language model. It's predictive text. And so it's going to say like, okay, what do I think is going to go here next? It's based on a ton of awesome information. So you can build, legal cases, documents, marketing projects, everything. But where I've been able to relate this most from my vantage point is I've operated as a creative director for many years, operating like large teams of creatives. And how do you get the best product on the other side of that is you have to give really good inputs. You have to tell them very clearly and distinctly, your whole team, what is it we're trying to do? Who is it for? What does the deliverable look like? Like, what's the shape and size of it? And then like any good creative director or someone who's reviewing stuff that comes in, you have to review it. You have to assume there are inconsistencies. There's going to be things that are, typically you'd say, typos, but there's not going to be stuff if you're especially a lawyer and you're talking about cases. You might want to look that up. And the other thing, just a small note, I think people should know is like sometimes it'll give you a reference. It'll say, here's a URL for that reference. And that is completely made up. The domain will look real, but if you put it in, it'll be fake because it's just guessing what the domain would be for an article on that. So yeah, that's kind of my take. So the lawyer thing, I think, is a big error. You should not take anything out of that system right now and just like copy paste and assume you're done. Because, while it can nail voice and tone some, it can get some of these things right. It should not be treated that way. I like to think of it as now I have an army of creatives who can give me rough drafts that are ready for review way faster. Yeah, allow me to step into the work and not start from a blank page.
Yeah. But so it's gonna, I mean, a lot of people, people are saying it's going to replace a lot of jobs. I think there's some jobs it's going to replace. I think it's going to augment a lot of jobs. I think it's going to make a lot of jobs easier. My man, Kevin Logan Jr. up top has been telling me a lot about the task functionality and how to use it to sequence. Kevin, why don't we talk a little bit about that? How to use ChatGPT from a task function.
Yeah. As these gentlemen were kind of saying, what I found is, it provides we're talking blockchain, right? Where it provides a great base layer, right? It provides a great base layer for whatever it is you're working on. So for something like this, right? Like just keeping it real, I used to spend a lot of time coming up with, the research and questions for a podcast. Now with ChatGPT, I can have it go out there, do the research. Hey, what's some information you can give me about these gentlemen? What are 15 good questions? I can input their LinkedIn backgrounds. I can input all this information about them. It can synthesize it, grab insights for me, and then give me some pretty good questions that I can utilize. Where I think people are not utilizing it the right way is just inputting your own human experiences, right? So it's great that output comes out, right? But it's coming from, as they said, it's coming from a model with predictive text, trying to figure out like what it thinks that you would want, right? But you know what you want. So you have to involve yourself in that process. And that's what I do. So whether that's marketing, as they were saying, or whatever foundational piece of whatever it is that you're using, it's just inputting your own human experience in there, and it's an amazing tool. It saves me so much freaking time daily.
Kevin, give us one example on a task, us as recruiters and or content creators, how using ChatGPT has helped you.
Yeah, honestly, right now as a recruiter, Boolean searches, it does really good giving me the parameters for Boolean searches. So, what I'll do is I'll put in, a job description for a candidate. I'll put in the candidate's background, or I'll put in the job description for the back, and then I'll put in like my 3 ideal candidates' backgrounds. And I'll say, okay, based on their background and based on what this company is looking for, give me the Boolean search strings that would best be utilized to find these people on LinkedIn Recruiter. And then it'll give me 10, and I want variations, right? I want variants because sometimes, depending on the search, it'll give me different results depending on how it is that I'm searching. So take those 10 different ones, and it's really expanded my sourcing real estate. I have to say, and honestly, there's a lot of search strings that I just would never think of that it gives me, and then from there I can use my own creative wit to add to it. That's definitely how I use it as a recruiter. From a content creator standpoint, look, I'm just gonna keep it real here, y'all. Please, man. ChatGPT writes a lot of my stuff. Not all of it. Again, not all of it. I always include myself. At the end of the day, I'm a personal brand. It's a personality. We're monetizing our personalities, so I'm still putting my personality in there. But again, it gives you a great base layer of content for you to then inject your own personality and make it pristine, is what I'll say.
Yeah, that's a great take. I appreciate that one. Chris Adamo, I'll get you off the mute in a second there. Talk to us from what you're seeing in the money flowing, the deal flow, the VC world. It's 6 months, 12 months ago, hottest things in sliced bread. Are we still there?
I mean, yes, it's part of everyone's business as far as the enhancement of it. It's cutting out all the clutter, all the busy work in the back end of our apps, of our platforms. We're using it Letterhead. I have several other investments that are using it as well. So it's kind of a layer add-on to things. And I think you're going to see the next
12 months ago, hottest
couple of years ago from now, all the big companies are really going to use it for everything. So it's going to enhance the Googles, the Microsofts, the huge companies are really going to just thrive on this stuff. So you're going to see this effect of like, it'll be part of everyone's life, whether you know it or not, at some point, pretty soon. And it'll give us a little more free time. So it's going to be good for all of our lives. It'll help us do what we do best, is create and think and do the human stuff. And a lot of the stuff that is remedial, that is, tech-driven stuff that we can kind of outsource is going to be outsourced. So jobs will change 100%, and we'll have to roll with that. And we'll evolve. We always have.
Yeah.
That's the good part about humans. We're very, very good at evolving.
Adapting and learning how to use and live with technology. Bruce, let me ask you this one: do we need to regulate this? Do we need to keep it under control? Or if anyone's following the news, the head of who was it? Kevin, keep me straight on this one. The head of the creator basically was like, "Fuck it, I'm out." And the machine's going to take over the world and destroy us all.
So I can't answer the regulation greatly, other than yes, I think there needs to be some stuff talked about. We need to be aggressively discussing it. There's very, very real implications here for stuff. It's going to move faster than I think our government works, tremendously fast compared to how they work. So again, I don't have a great answer, but I think we know that you just think of like, there was a really interesting use case brought up, I think, on a podcast a while ago, and you've probably seen in other news about using technology like this to make the most poisonous materials in the world. Give me a whole bunch of compounds to make the most harmful medicine, which is poison, right? You take that idea, that concept of anything good, where wow, I'm able to do so much good work. You can always take that the other direction, and so there has to be some thought there. The thing is, though, I think it's have to be on a global scale. I don't think, the big conversation is, well, if we throttle back, other countries go forward and they are going to win. It's technically an arms race. It really is, especially when you think about
is this the new Cold War? The new, right? Like the deep fakes and everything. I mean, this is serious shit.
There's already a lot of nefarious stuff happening in technology. So this is only going to amplify it, potentially. Yeah. It's not great for that. And I think it's a lot of stuff that'll happen. You don't ever know it's happening. But when it comes to even scamming, phishing, that people steal your identity, your voice now, and make it sound like you. There's all of this ripple, and they operate across
machines are going to take over.
So.
Machines are definitely going to take over. Yep.
Chris Sopher, let's talk shop here with Letterhead. Tell us about some of the cool features, integrations that you guys have been testing, and some that are already implemented or batter up on the on deck circle.
I mean, I think the comments that Chris and Bruce made are totally right. And, Kevin's talking about how much time it saves him. Like, that's kind of how we think about it, right? It's not about, hey, ChatGPT or these other models are going to come along and like replace content creation whole cloth in that way. Because I think, as everybody, here knows, right, the work of creating great content requires this kind of, inspiration and human element that we're a long way away from, right? I kind of think of it like self-driving cars, where like your car can do a whole lot, but true, like it's fully hands-free everywhere is taking a very long time to get to relative to the first steps of that, right? And so that's kind of how we think about it. It's like these tools have a way to help people save time, right? Can we cut out the dumb stuff around your subject lines and things like that? Can we help you find good content to include? Can we help you, figure out the next topics? Those are the kind of things that take people a lot of time. And when we talk to customers, part of what they're doing is like, there's the work of coming up with the concepts, the strategy, all of that. Then there's the work of production. And then there's this kind of messy shit in the middle that's like, I'm going to copy paste all my stuff and move it around and get it all set up. But it's real finicky work that's time consuming. There's no reason for human beings to do any of that, right? Like there's no value being made by you sitting there clicking those buttons. The software should do it for you. So that's kind of the way that we think about it. But, to be honest, I think the stuff that gets me excited is actually these like purpose-built models that our people are now working on, that you're going to see a lot more of because the cost is coming down. There's all these new companies that are doing like infrastructure, right? The kind of like they're selling the pickaxes, right? And they're trying to make it easier for other people to develop their own models. I think that's where the really exciting stuff happens, right? Like I look at like there's all the computer vision things, like the AIs that can look at all your MRIs and process them way
That
faster
is cool.
than biologists.
Yeah,
That
those
idea,
case studies,
that's
use
going to come.
cases.
Yeah, that's going to come to our business, right? That's going to come to content and these other things. Purpose built, really understanding the nuance and the specifics of that case. That's where it's going to get super, super powerful, because I think the ChatGPT writing ceiling, like we're actually very close to it in my view, because it's just hard to go from it's fine to it's really, really excellent communication with a system like that. But the next generation of these things, I think, is going to tackle that, no problem.
And just want to jump in here for a second. I started testing with the podcast audio with a new, I'm not going to call it out, a new podcasting platform that ingests all the audio content, and it spits out a number of things which are pretty cool. It spits out the show notes, it spits out the timestamps, it spits out tweets, questions to ask back to the guest for a second show. So some pretty cool stuff in it where it fully integrates ChatGPT 4 into the platform. But I found that you have to, again, it comes back to the inputs. I have to identify the speaker. So it takes little tidbits out of the audio, and I have to say who it is. So it learns who the speaker is. But then still on top of that, it's a lot of manual effort because it's mishmashing. For example, if I do not load the raw audio in and I load in the final audio that has commercial reads in it, it starts to pull that in as core content into the show. So there's a lot of learning and there's a lot of manual input that goes into this. So we're definitely, as you said, we're far along, but we're also far off. Let's talk about like tone, human feel into creative content, and for me that's exciting and also scary when we talk about like deep fakes and other nefarious activities.
Well, now we can bring it to the immutable mindset, right? Because that's where blockchain technology is going to be really, really, really important, right? Like consensus algorithms will be really important. That's why I'm honestly, even though all this is happening and everybody, most people probably don't even know what we're talking about here. Most of what's happening when it is all implemented, very little of us will really understand what's going on, right? Like we talk about blockchain technology. Like when blockchain technology is implemented the way it should be, you won't even know you're on blockchain. Like when AI is working the way it should, you're not gonna realize that you're interacting with AI. It'll just be what's the name? What's the iPhone? What's the lady name? What's the Siri? You'll just it'll just be a name. It'll just be a thing. It won't be all these esoteric conversations we're having. We'll get to this different place where it's just integrated into our workflow. And in terms of
just felt right.
In terms of like, where all the angst and anxiety is for people right now, like for the jobs and stuff, I think it's number one, as Chris was talking about, we're so far off from like a sentient AI, AGI that they talk about. Like we're pretty freaking far off. Like I think people have to understand the history of AI to know how long it took to get to like
tell us a history lesson, moment. Kevin.
No, I won't do that. But it's taken a long time, right? Like DARPA created the internet in the 60s and then gave it to us in the 90s, right? Like these things take time. It takes time to develop and then for it to all make sense. So I just think, where this is headed, where AI with jobs, with everything that everybody has anxiety and angst about. I say it like this, and I'm kind of a tangent. I think people should be less worried that AI is going to take your job, and you should be a lot more worried that the one dude who learned how to utilize AI and leverage it to be more productive than the next 5 people are going to take your job. That's what you should be concerned about. So there is something to being early to this technology. There is something to getting your hands dirty with this thing, understanding how it works, and then being here as the development happens so you can understand the history of it. I just went on a tangent, but yeah.
I mean, anybody want to react to Kevin's thoughts there? I feel Bruce is like the wheels are spinning in his head down there.
I like geek about this stuff way too much.
Geek
so I'm
off,
excited
man.
to talk about it. Well, I think there's a couple things in that I think are really interesting. One is like, you talk about voice and tone. It can nail things like talk like Seth Godin or whatever. And it's like, wow, that's like a caricature of this person. Like, it's not actually like Seth Godin's thoughts are unique in it. It's just kind of like the pattern of words, things like that you can do. I think I think this is going to be pretty obvious for a bit there. We're going to be seeing more and more a flood of this content that's just like mediocre. It's okay.
Yep.
It does the job. Where it's going to get really impressive is when you can start to utilize this tool to nail it, to really cut through that noise, have a great, great piece of content going out, have a great newsletter
Like
people want
comedy
to open in their
routines,
inbox.
right? They could write a comedy routine, like take Seinfeld and Bill Burr, combine those two together, talk about nuclear missiles and Chinese food, put it together and see what it spits out.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think we're close. We could do that.
I think the other thing is you're going to see people have asked me like, okay, well, if AI is doing this, am I just going to have a million emails in my inbox? Am I going to have a million news? I don't think that's going to be it. I think the best ones will be crafted for you and, have your attention and you will be eager to open them. It's not like people have control over your inbox. And so it's like the letterhead mindset coming in here, but it's not so much, oh, there's gonna be a ton of bad information. Sure. People, the best will percolate to the top. So I'm pretty eager to see all that.
Chris Sopher, I feel you got something to add.
No, I think that's totally right, and it's going to get harder and harder for people to sort of get. I think attention is actually going to get more difficult in this moment because it is so easy to just kind of spin stuff out, right? And so the negative version of that is like the people who already have audience and have big followings and have big pockets are going to win because they can just build on that, and everybody else is going to have a hard time scaling, right? Like you think about like YouTube and things like that, is going to get harder and harder for new people to break through, right? But on the other hand, I think it creates this really cool opportunity because the barrier to entry is gone. And so then like you have an argument that, hey, quality is going to actually be what matters. And the stuff that really has value is what's going to break through and resonate. And people are going to be hungry for that signal in the noise. And so I think there's different ways of looking at it. But ultimately what gets me excited is like the pressure is always going to be on, is this valuable? Is it relevant? Do people care about it? Are you building real value and community when you ask for people's time? And if you're checking those boxes, it sort of doesn't matter what tool you use to make the content. I think that's kind of my view about it. And so it's going to fit exactly, what Kevin was saying, is going to fade into the background. It's like, it's just one of those things, just like StreamYard or just like, the internet browser we're all on. Like, I think that's where it goes.
Well, that's technology, right? It brings the marginal cost of production to zero. So that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing a flood of shitty content right now. Like I see it all the time.
Yeah. All
from my favorite content creators, where I'm like, hey, I know your tone and I know your voice, and it's cute that you changed it, but that's not you. Oh yeah, and that one's not you, and neither is that one. Oh, and your newsletter, wait, that's not you. Like it's amazing. I am seeing it right now. It is definitely happening. But to your point, not only those that have the audience, but again, AI will never, at least in the near future, AI will not be able to capture the human experience, and that will play itself out. So like, instead of doing the get Jerry Seinfeld and Bill Burr to do this, where I'm starting to get excited is I'm starting to use ChatGPT to understand my tone and my voice, so it can better understand me, so that when I'm asking to do something, when it spits it out to be just like me. That's where I'm starting to get excited.
All right, Kevin. So break it down for the everyday content user out there. Everyday Joe Schmo on the street creating content. Where could they start? Where should they start? How do they dip their toes in the water? And then how do they teach? What platform do they use? I mean, how do you even get into it?
I'm a nerd, so you're not going to like my answer. Honestly, start with education. Please this is going to sound horrible. I know. But seriously, the reason why I understand how to leverage AI is because I understand technology as a whole, right? I understand how it connects with these other pieces of life. And so I can give it solid inputs because I understand how it's going to give me its outputs. I understand what a large language model does. I understand how it brings in data, how it gathers insight, extracts. So I feel like, understanding the foundation, how the sausage is made, will really help you create some really good sausage. Is what I was getting at, obviously. So, but yeah, that's
all right. Let's flip it back to the Letterhead crew. You guys work with a lot of brands. Let's talk about how big brands are using the technology.
Yeah, the thing I'll say at the outset, and I'll let Bruce and Chris jump in, is like I do think it's a good example, like some of the things we've been talking about, that smart brands, larger, as soon as you get above the small business level, the desire for accuracy, for caution, for brand safety is like super high, and that's one of those things, right, where like the bar for how this stuff enters, like like your mom knows about it faster than actually businesses are adopting it in some cases or sizes, right? And the attorney example you mentioned is a great example of that, where I know a number of people who are partners at large law firms where that case went around instantly, and all those firms, if they didn't already, had policies in place, specific tools that they're approaching it very, very differently.
Yeah, you got to be mindful with it. Like there's ethical, legal, professional standards that many people have to be aware of. So let's talk about Letterhead for a moment. Here comes the plug part. Why Letterhead? Who should use it? Tell us a little bit more.
Good. I was ready for the answer to the AI stuff, but
oh, you want to go back? Pause on that. Let's go.
No, I mean,
back
well,
to the AI
no,
stuff.
I think
we're gonna get to the plug.
There's something here that relates.
Go for it.
There's something here that relates to Letterhead, so we're going to segue this in. It's going to be a little bit of a blend here. So one of the ways that I think businesses are using AI and GPT right now in a smart way. What's this?
You're now on the overnight. With
oh yeah, okay. Let me take over. How they're
Bruce Radio. Slow and deep.
How they're leveraging it is taking content they already make, right? There's a lot of great businesses who make stuff for the world. They have stories to tell. It is not their full-time job always to tell those stories. Adam, you're one of these people, you do recruiting, you do really, really good storytelling as well. And how do you take that content and get it out there into the world effectively? And what we often see is the once a month newsletter, and that's it. And hopefully you read it. Otherwise, you're kind of off on your own, and we're on behind the scenes doing our thing. Or there's just product emails that go out and they don't have much other story there. It's just kind of like, here's my product buy, here's my product buy. And I think we in this room know a lot about like cadence and how important it is to provide value and then make asks, things like that. So I think these tools are doing a really good job at that, helping people say, hey, here's this thing I made. Can you help me make it into a series of tweets? Can you make me LinkedIn posts? And obviously they're not always the best, but the fact that if you come with content, you can get so much more out of this. The same thing you were saying with your podcast and that other tool. You made one piece of content. Now, how do you expand it out into different atomic pieces? Where I think Letterhead is great for is those people who, might have these elements, these pieces of a great business and operation and know the importance of email. They see it, but it's another skill set to learn. It's another tool to learn. It's another entire, it can be another operation in your business at certain sizes where it's brand publishing, things like that. Letterhead is helping folks do that with their existing teams, with their existing stack, manage newsletters, manage multiple newsletters, nurture those audiences with different segments, and think about, how and what I'm getting from this newsletter is impacting my business fundamentals. So that's like high level what's going on here, but really that's it.
Yeah, I was curious, how do you, because I'm a content creator that's wanted to get into a newsletter. How do you catalog the content creators' content, and then how are you analyzing what they're doing and then creating that into a newsletter? Yeah, just curious.
So this is where you're getting into the fun part of where we're at today versus where we're building. So Letterhead as a platform, when you onboard with us, we do a deep dive into what you're working on. We say, okay, here's all the assets. Here's what you can actually achieve. Right? We're not going to give you a prescription to say, send a daily newsletter. That won't be manageable. It doesn't actually have the inputs needed for it. And say, okay, based on all this, here's what we think you can do. And here's going to be our recommendations to achieve those goals, because your goals are going to be different than other newsletter operators too. Some are looking revenue, some are looking to build brand, et cetera. So that is currently what happens with our customer success. And we are in the process of developing, and some of these technologies are rolling out in alpha to users, of helping technology take that kind of human element, that human expertise, and guide you along the way. So part of it is, taking the different, the thing that's currently being built. So I don't want to overpromise the thing that's in the mix right now is sign up, bring in your social accounts, bring in your blog, give us your RSS feeds, give us your content, and we'll help, give you a couple examples of a great format that work based on your content. And right now there's kind of a few tools that you can do in that way, where you can build automations. You could say, hey, everything that I post, this many things, I want this. And then how do we make that better than just like a traditional RSS newsletter? So that's a little, I don't know if that's too jargony, because I'm always in this world.
No, that's awesome. And then just curious, and then, because obviously we're talking here AI and everything. Where are there automations in there for the creators to help them save time and their efforts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really our core focus, right? Is that like we have customers who are running, 20, 30, 40 different newsletter products that are entirely automated, right? Where some of the content is original that they're feeding in, some of it is generated, some of it's selected. Like there's really a mix there, right? So you can kind of run the gamut. And to Bruce's point, it kind of depends on what's the right fit for the business. Because I think our view is it kind of lives on a spectrum. It's like there are use cases for entirely automated stuff that can actually be really good and perform. And then there's the use case for, essayists and Substack where it's like, hey, I'm going to write these really thoughtful pieces and people are going to, there's a value prop for all those things. And it's kind of like, hey, what's the right thing for this business? And so a lot of where we find ourselves is often when we're talking to a company, it's like, what's going to be the right strategy? And it's not going to be the same for every one of your segments or markets, right? Like you have to be able to specialize that. So that's a lot of what we help businesses do too, is figure out which tool fits the right application, particularly when we're working with larger companies. And I do think that fits the question of how businesses are thinking about this too. Like it's a P&L question. It's like, hey, I want to get into this. I need to get into this. I need to have more content creation, but I'm not going to go hire 45 people, right? So how do we do that in a profitable way? And so that's often, where we're kind of coming in also and helping a company with those kinds of things.
I think it's also a good use case for some back catalog content. How do you bring new life to some old stuff? I think about it from a written word perspective. News articles, information. It's going to be certainly interesting. What are some of the cool innovations have you seen? Like, what are some things out there that you guys are at the front line? You're in the trenches. What are you seeing out there that's pretty cool and mind blowing?
Well, I feel like Chris Adamo sees all kinds of cool stuff, so I'll throw it to him. But the one thing I will say is that I think there's some really awesome stuff happening with kind of community driven content. So, people allowing kind of people in their community to submit stuff or like, share content with them or even have like volunteers or members of the community contribute to that, I think is really interesting. And then the other thing that I really like seeing is sort of this merging of like companies and the creator kind of piece where you see now a lot of creators who came up on YouTube or Twitch or one of these things, they're building out basically full on media businesses or merchandise companies. They're really becoming full on brands and having to professionalize. And then you have on the same token brands that have had no idea how to speak internet, finally figuring out how to like either hire creators or work through them or launch their own brands and sort of behave like their content creators and adopting some of the Patreon, YouTube-y kind of mentality. So that's the thing I think about a lot is like those worlds are really merging and becoming kind of one thing. And that stuff is really cool. But I know Chris sees all kinds of cool stuff, so I'm sure he has additional things to throw in.
Well, one thing, Chris, did you draw that self-portrait behind you on the wall, behind your head to the right? I mean, is that you up there?
You like that?
The head shape is uncanny. It is completely uncanny up there. I've been staring at that. I'm like, did you draw? Like, is this a hotel that encourages you drawing on the walls? Is that what's happening here?
No. It's just happenstance. Yeah. But what Chris said, exactly that. The army of one brand is growing at a crazy rate right now, and you're not going to know that it's army of one brand, anymore. It's like this is X, Y, and Z. It started with this person, now it is all this, and this is going to be millions of people just doing the same thing, and they're all going to make a ton of money. I know you guys know our friend Greg Eisenberg. He has lots of good thoughts on this idea of like how using AI is going to expand the personal brand into the next great companies, and it could start with one person now. It didn't. That wasn't the way of the past. You can have one person at the company, and it took a big team. Now a lot of that team stuff is getting outsourced with AI. So you're getting a head start, and then if you're really good at building this brand and giving value back in your personal life and your business life, it's going to expand everything pretty fast. So yeah, we're seeing plugins and like creation. Obviously, content creation, video, audio is being hijacked by AI real fast. It's going. I've seen a great one called Capsule, which you can use to use it to do edit like real fast. It basically gives you the exact spots to like make the edits, and boom, you have a video made. And then we saw you, Adam, you're using our tool, I think, to do newsletters now. So like, things that you haven't had time to do in the past, you can do now with one button click, which is great. So it takes your life to a different level of like doing what's important.
You got to dig in. You got to dig in. Kevin,
yeah, there's some stuff I want to add. Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
No,
sorry.
please go
I
ahead.
wanted to add it was based on something you said earlier too, Kevin, that I thought was interesting, like the Siri and the assistant. Outside of the newsletter space and content creator space, I am very, very personally interested in how these technology will be used to like make us superhuman. There's one like I'm just using right now, just testing out called Poised, and it's like gives you feedback on how you're talking during meetings and things, and that is like illuminating things that I would not have been able to catch, that I don't get that kind of feedback. I don't have like, Chris gives me good feedback on certain things, but not in this way where it's like, hey, you could do better if you do these couple things. And so I'm expecting, and I demand it. So whoever's listening to this, make it for me. I demand these things across all of my life. I want a personal finance coach. I want the speaking coach. I want someone to keep me motivated to work out. And this is what this technology, I think, will be doing in a big way for the mass market. So that's where I'm excited. Yeah.
It is the best. It's the smartest friend that you never knew you needed. Like, okay, so
it's the imaginary friend that we all had growing up that actually does something.
Look, I'm a solo. I'm basically within reason, like solopreneur. Adam is my colleague, but Adam is in New York, right? And that's it. That's all I got. I have nobody else. It's if I don't talk to him, if something happens, some bullshit happens at work, and I need to vent to somebody and he's not there, I'm like, you know where I'm going? I'm absolutely going to ChatGPT, okay? And I'm letting him, whoever know. But like seriously, like not even joking, y'all. And ChatGPT 4 is getting better. Like it's so good at reassuring you and like having a conversation with you.
It will be fine.
And no, it's getting really good. But to that point, right? Like taking that 2 steps forward, 1,000,000%. When when you're out there, Siri. Siri on steroids. Siri on steroids is definitely what I'm excited about for sure.
All right, guys, let's bring it home here. Let's make sure we get the plug in. Tell everybody about Letterhead. Tell everybody why it's freaking awesome. I use it for the Pulse newsletter, and not just because these guys are my friends and I know them because it's a great product, but tell everyone why they should be using it.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately what we're in the business of doing is helping people create that signal in the noise, So how do we help you create content, build audience, connect with people in an ongoing way? That's what we do. And so if you're trying to do that for your business, trying to create some publications or media brand underneath your company, Letterhead can help. And we're thought partners to all of our clients. So come hit us up and let's see what we can do together.
Sounds like a plan. Kevin Logan, anything else we want to touch on before we wrap it up?
Nah, I'm a big nerd, so I love talking all AI and everything. No, honestly, like not even joking. I really want to look into this a little bit more. I did a quick surface level dive, but no, what you guys are providing, it sounds like exactly what a creator like me would want to do. Somebody that understands, that's a solopreneur that wants to leverage AI to be more productive. And you guys are helping that with newsletters and marketers. So that's awesome. And I know a lot of people that need that kind of help. So no. I love it.
Drop the link. Bruce, where can folks find Letterhead?
Please do.
Head us up at tryletterhead.com. You can also find us on all the different social platforms, so feel free to hit us up. I will drop, you can have my email if you really want to send me some really cool AI tips. It's Bruce at tryletterhead.com. I wish we would have had more time to discuss all the workflows. I could just talk for hours about workflows and things like that. But yeah,
if you want to do that, I'll leave the stream on and go get my lunch, and you guys could take the
nerd out. Oh yeah, we can nerd out. Oh yeah. You
guys want to nerd out? You want to go into bonus time? You want to nerd out?
Member only content. Yeah.
We're going into the after hours here on the podcast live. We have the afters here. Okay, let's get some nerd content. Let's get some bonus nerd content out there. Kevin, throw your hardest pitch over Bruce. See if he can hit it.
I have no pitch.
Throw him a curveball. throw him a knuckleball. Ask him a question. Bruce will blow your mind, man.
No. Oh, well, let's start there. Go ahead. You obviously had something on deck. I could see it. You had something right there that you wanted. Go ahead.
I am very interested in, so like with this type of tool, you're going to see a lot of bad products come out. It's like the silly ones, the one-offs, whatever, things like that. I'm interested in how people take like a sliver of it, combine with other things and make something really cool. So I personally have been doing something that I'll share with the group because I have found tremendous value in it. It's kind of like I have a personal assistant who can help me organize my life when I just vent to it. So if you're familiar with the Artist Way book, there's a process in there called morning pages. And every day you're supposed to write 3 full pages that are just thoughts. What's going on in your head? How did you sleep? What are you doing? What are you worried about? What are you anxious? Blah, blah, blah. There's some questions you can follow. The problem is I've got a toddler and a 6-month-old, and there is 0 time in the day to write 3 pages by hand. So what I've done is drafted it into like 5 core questions. What am I thinking about? How am I feeling today? did you have any dreams? What am I going to do for my creative self? What are, and I just rant. So every morning I walk the dog, I'll record on Otter AI, a video note, and answer these questions. I'll say the question out loud so GPT can get it and ask the question, answer it, and just kind of vent if I'm feeling anxious about a thing or this or that. And then I ask GPT to summarize these notes into actionable items, prioritize my list, tell me what to do, give me tips. And it has been like a game changer to my life. As far as like, I wake up, I might feel anxious about something. Well, why? Put it on paper and it says, hey, you're feeling anxious about this. Here's an idea of how you should get started. And it's like, so that's my gift to you all.
Not as nerdy. No, not as nerdy. Okay, not as nerdy. But it was 7 years ago, and I was deep. Do y'all know James Altucher?
Yeah.
Familiar? Okay. So he I forget the book he wrote, but basically he was like, hey, you have your best thoughts right before you go to bed and right when you wake up. So what you do is you grab a pen and pad and you write as much as you can, as long as you can. And I did that for 5 years. Every single day. And my wife thought I was crazy. And I think I'm still crazy. And I don't know why I did it. But it all made sense. It all made sense once I started putting that information in a ChatGPT. And you do want to see the book. Trust me. It has some of the.
That's amazing.
It has some of the most amazing ideas and some of the shittiest ideas in the world. I don't know. And like the they're so far. Yeah, it's bad. But putting that information in a ChatGPT and like sincerely asking it, like, are there any good ideas that you could utilize in here to improve my process? Like, hey, on this page, I was talking about idea for marketing. Was there anything on here that could, like, but when you start asking it questions, what it does honestly is it brings you back to that point in time. And then it's like it puts you right back there. And now you can start using that idea all over again. So it's almost like you're repurposing your own content using ChatGPT to help you leverage what your thoughts were from the past. If I said too much, I'm sorry.
So ChatGPT. So let me just kind of synthesize this here, use my own internal. Yeah. So basically, Kevin's using ChatGPT,
it's not ChatGPT, but
like he's using a tool to synthesize his dreams. Okay, got it. Okay, cool.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess kind of.
And then the other use case I think has been helpful for me because I don't have a massive marketing team behind me and I'm doing a lot of other work across the board, a lot of land to cover, right, in a startup world, is I often will put in like agendas or docs and just be like, what am I missing for this audience? What questions would you have? What follow-up would you have? And that has saved my ass numerous times with like, hey, we think you're not giving enough detail. Or I'm like, oh shit, I'm not. Okay. And so I would encourage people to do that too, is like, it shouldn't just make your stuff. It can also understand it, analyze it, and give you a little bit of insight on that. And so that's been a big help for me. You don't want to get surprised.
No, that's serious alpha. No, that's real alpha. Yeah, no, there's honestly, there's so many ways to just utilize it to be that assistant. It's a powerful tool. It's a powerful tool, y'all. You guys better get on it.
All right. Let's wrap this show up today. I want to go around the horn. Everyone knows try Letterhead, but let's go for folks that want to follow you guys on your socials. Chris Adamo, where can folks find you? Where can they connect you? Where can they learn more?
At Chris Adamo, every platform, and then if you want to co-invest with me, Flamingo Capital. Google it, and you'll find me.
Look out for the imposters. There's a lot of fake Adamos out there.
There are. Sorry, guys.
Bruce.
Just one Chris Adamo. I think you should just go to my main site. I'm working on this, brucepinchbeck.com. It's got all my social, and you can follow some of the other weird, fun projects that I mentioned at the beginning, how I like to get people involved in creativity. brucepinchbeck.com.
Find Chris. And Chris Sopher, bring us home here.
I'm at CK Sopher on all the platforms. And thanks for having us.
Good stuff. And Kevin Logan, tell everyone about the Immutable Mindset and where they can check that out.
Absolutely. We come to you every Friday. You can search Immutable Mindset wherever you get your favorite podcast. Go ahead. I'm
about to say, but there's a Chris in this episode for this week.
That's right. This week we brought on Chris again. That was it felt like this conversation right here, like a wide-ranging, like super smart dude who just is kind of involved in everything, like kind of like y'all felt like. So no, it was a great conversation. We talked about AI, we talked about technology, we talked about all things. So no, great.
And you can find that Immutable Mindset. And this is the podcast. You can find it at thepodcast.com, all your favorite social media channels. Everyone out there, we want to thank you for spending an hour with us geeks over here talking about AI. Please check out Try Letterhead, fully supported over here. I wish everyone a fantastic weekend. Be good to yourself and be good to others. And we're out, everybody.
Appreciate y'all.
Bye.